Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks so much for coming by today. Today is something a little bit different. Last week I did a community post about interest in like a Q&A. I've never done one of those on my channel before as sort of a little, celebration or whatever you want to call it for reaching 1,500 subscribers, which I'm still blown away and just thank you God. Thank you all so much really for watching me and I don't know. It's my booktube journey has just been a wonderful ride. So, a different place because I've got my computer screen up over here to look at the questions, and so let's dig right into them. I haven't even really looked at them, so this will be kind of a bit off the cuff. And look, I always have piles of books everywhere. Okay. So let's get going into these questions, and then thanks to everyone who gave me questions, and hopefully they'll be interesting. My answers will be interesting anyway. The questions I'm sure are amazing. So, okay, ready? Congrats on Bandy's books. I'm just going to read them down the line here. Bandy's books said, congrats. My question is, what is the most challenging book you've ever read? Oh, well, I've sort of physically challenging book I read was, of course, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. It is both sort of, I think, mentally challenging and actually sort of physically challenging to read. It's a really big book. And there are pages that, where the type or the words, they are in a square, or they're I don't know, they're physically out of sync with what we think of as a page, right? So possibly that. Now, sort of content-wise, I've definitely read some challenging books too, but I'm going to go for that one because really the content is a bit challenging, and it's actually a physically challenging book to read. Okay, M's Book Nook, thank you. What are a few of your favorite books to read with my son? So again, my son is he's a great kid. He's 10-year-old, and he actually really loves to read, and we still read to him. He's not able to read on his own yet. He has his faves that he loves. We are a big Eric Carle house, so any of the Brown Bear books, Polar Bear, those we absolutely love. There's a book we read called Bear Says Thanks. He's in love with that story, and it's a really wonderful story about friendship and showing gratitude. The Foot book has been one that he has loved since he was been like a teeny baby. The Foot book, we still read the Foot book, and we still read Where the Wild Things Are. We still love that book immensely. Yeah. What else is kind of one that we cycle through? Oh, there's this really fun book that he likes. It's called Acoustic Rooster and His Barnyard Band. And it is by Kwame Mbalia, and he it's a wonderful story of jazz. So the jazz musicians are there's Mules Davis and Duck Ellington. My son loves that one too. So those are some that he loves to read, and of course we like to read it too. So Cat over at Cat's Novel Adventures asked, what made me decide to start a YouTube channel, and what is the significance of my channel's name? So when I first started my YouTube channel, I was doing primarily cross-stitching videos, what we call floss tube here on the YouTubes, and I did that for a couple of years, and then life got busy, and I went a couple of years without making anything on the channel, any videos at all. And then 2019 I started reading again, and it was at that time that I discovered BookTube, and so I started kind of connecting with some of the other booktubers who just in their comments and things like that, and I was like, gosh, this is really fun. And so I started doing bookish videos in 2021. Was that what it was? Yes, I'm pretty sure. April of 2021, I think it was. So I'm coming up on a couple of years anniversary, which is exciting. Now my channel's name, I'm Fiber RC here, because I've been Fiber RC on the internet almost since the internet has was born. I don't know if you remember like old school days of like chat rooms and like forums, and you had to have like a cool screen name, even like with your very first email address. You remember? I don't know if you had to make it like really cool, Anyway, so I chose something that had to do around fiber arts because I majored in fine art when I was at college, and particularly focusing on fiber art. And I still very much love fiber art, though I haven't made much of my own art in years now. But I do consider myself pretty artsy. But just finding time to be creative can be a bit hard these days. So that's kind of where fiber artsy came from. And so when I, of course, made my YouTube channel, I was like, oh, everybody knows me as fiber artsy. So that's me. That's me on the internet, is fiber artsy, and I've been fiber artsy on the internet for what, 20 years? I don't know, long time. All right, my pal Jason over at Jason's Weird Reads. What's the earliest book that you remember reading that you say most turned you into an avid reader? And that would be Dear Mr. Henshaw, most likely, yeah, Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary. It is one of my favorite, all-time favorite books. I absolutely love that book. It is a book I absolutely remember reading as a kid. And but in general, Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary, I read so much when I was a kid. I don't really have much memory before. Like, did I read Picture Book? I'm sure I did, but I really don't remember any of those. I just remember Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary. The Fudge books, the Ramona books, all of those books. But my all-time favorite, Beverly Cleary, Dear Mr. Henshaw. It's about a boy. I think because I connected personally with it, because it's about a boy whose parents were divorced, and I'm a kid of divorce. So I reread that book last year before, and it actually still like holds up. It is still a powerful story about being a kid of divorce, and I love that book. All right, Kelsey over at Slime and Slashers asks the question: what book, if any, would you consider a holy grail find if you saw it for a reasonable price at a used bookstore? Honestly, I don't know that there's necessarily anything that I'm really on the hunt for. I'm always on the hunt, as you know, for like old school, horror paperbacks. But is there one that I'm really on the hunt for? Honestly, not really, which is kind of a boring answer, sorry. Although I would love to find like an original copy of Kathy Koch's The Cipher, like the old school printing. I wouldn't mind finding one of those. Sometimes those are kind of hard to come by. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I love the thrill of the hunt. So there's nothing really in particular, but yeah. She has a second question. What book surprised you the most, and why? Whoa, I probably should have thought about some of these questions. I don't know. Most recently, maybe Exquisite Corpse, Kelsey, because I didn't really expect to absolutely love it. I thought it was going to be good and like dark and disturbing and violent and stuff, but I didn't really expect to come away absolutely like it now being one of my favorite books ever. You know what I mean? So that was actually really surprising for me, because I haven't not read anything by Poppy Zebright, so I was really surprised by how much that book really kind of affected me, and because the writing was so amazing. And so yeah, that's been a kind of more recent surprise, I would say. Yeah, but thanks for that question, Kelsey. Okay, so Gareth over at Book Songs and Other Magic. Hi, Gareth. He says, do you find it hard to find time to read? And if do, and kind of what do you do to fit reading in? Yes and no. Audiobooks have really kind of changed my life, honestly. When I discovered audiobooks, like I knew they always existed, like books on tape. Remember books on tape and books on see, like I knew they were a thing, but I never really, got into them until I started back reading again, and I discovered audiobooks. I discovered, like Libby in particular. We could like get them from your library. Wow, what a novel idea. Like I didn't even know this thing existed. So audiobooks have really, like I said, really changed my reading life, because I can listen to an audiobook and do other things, like here recently I've been listening while working, and because I just have a kind of job where it's a bit mindless in that way, unless I have something I have to focus on, and then I usually have to pause my audiobook. But so audiobooks in general for me help me absorb more, and really I just kind of fit in reading when I can. I'm usually a late night reader, so after my son's gone to bed and I've taken my shower for the night and all that good stuff, sometimes it's not till like 9 o'clock. I'll sit down and I'll read for a little bit. That's my physical face-to-face reading with my eyeballs kind of reading. And I just fit it in when I can. I really don't stress it out. I really don't. There are days I don't read at all, and that's fine too. So for me, I just fit it in when I can. And again, just audiobooks in general for me have just helped me out so much with getting through some of the books that I want to read, and gosh, that's like probably over 50% of my reading is audiobooks, and I'm in love with audiobooks. So I hope that helps. All right, next up, our Goddess of Gore. I love her channel. Okay, my favorite ever baddie in a book, any form of being that you deem, and why. My favorite baddie. Oh gosh, oh man, I should have thought about this one. Let me think about it for a minute. Okay, I thought of one because, duh. Mr. Charlie Manx from Nosferatu by Joe Hill. There's something about this guy who's so intriguing because he's so bad, but he's like also like kind of cool because he drives a really badass car, right? I mean, don't we all love guys with cool cars? I love this book, I really do, and I really like the character of Charlie Manx. Okay, Retro Betty reads, yay! She asked, what book, is any, do you regret purchasing and why? Well, there is a book, it's probably over there in my unhaul. I don't regret purchasing necessarily, but I really did not. And I DNF'd The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, and I bought the book. I buy books thinking I'm going to like them, right? I really did not get into that book, and everyone was loving it, and I still to this day don't understand why. So that book immediately went to my unhaul pile over there, because I don't get it, man. I still don't get that book. Okay, so Ingrid Fitz, thank you. What is your favorite yarn skill? Because she says she's a crocheter, and she wishes that she could knit, because she knows some crochet stuff in my background. So I don't crochet or knit. Any of my crochet stuff that in my background, some of the stuff I got from my grandmother when she passed away, like lots of Afghans and things like that, or a lot of stuff I pick up from thrift stores. I don't know, I feel like I kind of rescue some of those things sometimes, because people spend a long time on these like beautiful, gorgeous like Afghans and things, and then they just at a thrift store. Oh my god. So I don't personally crochet or knit. I would really love to crochet though, and I think I just need to spend the time to sit and learn to do it. I'm sure it's pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it, because I would really love to make little like stuff like animals and things like that. I feel like that would be just like really fun. Now, stuff with yarn, I have done what's the word I'm looking for? Crewel embroidery in the past, and I collect a lot of crewel embroidery, like a vintage crewel embroidery. So that's done with yarn. It's embroidery, but you do it with a thicker yarn. So whenever I find like an old crewel kit, like at a thrift store or something, I usually pick it up, because those things are crazy expensive. You don't really find them as much anymore these days. Even the crewel embroideries, like the finished pieces, so you don't find them hardly anymore at thrift stores like I used to back in the day. But that is something I actually do or have done. I haven't done it in quite a while, but I do some crewel embroidery from time to time. But I am mostly like embroidery with DMC floss and cross stitching, of course, with the DMC floss. So yeah, that's kind of my stitching of choice, I would say. All right, Sen's Book Nook were my favorite spots to read. Do you like to read outside, weather permitting? I am primarily a couch reader because again, as mentioned before, I'm usually a late night reader, and my husband goes to bed way before I do. He's the early bird and I'm the night owl, so I'm staying up late reading books. So I usually just stay downstairs on the couch with my little reading lamp, and I read. I will read outside. We have like a little deck, and when it gets not too hot, because here in North Carolina our summers are pretty steamy, but spring and fall I like to get out there and read once the weather gets nice, for sure. Of course, now everything's coated in pollen as we're making our way to spring, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, I do like to read outside. We're going on vacation. Of course, I bring a book if we're like going to the beach. I like to bring a book to the beach, that kind of thing. So I do read outside. Not a ton though, I guess. Definitely, the weather has to be kind of just right. All right. Angela 405. Question is, what book was perfect for you on paper, but turned out to be a dud when you actually read it? Also, have you read a book where the opposite was true? You expected not to like it, but ended up loving it? Very good question. So, a book that seemed like I would really like, but just really didn't. Okay, so for the book that it seemed like it was going to be perfect for me, and really I thought I was going to enjoy it, and really ended up not liking it very much. And the first thing that kind of comes to mind, and looking at it, is House of Chains by Steven Erikson. And why would I think I would like this sort of on paper is because it's part of an ongoing series that I'm reading, and I'm overall really enjoying the series. So this is part of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. This is book 4 of that series. And boy howdy, this book was a slog for me to get through. It really was. And I really struggled through it. And I don't know why it was so much different than the other books. It was a lot more sort of talking and with the characters, and not a lot of action. There was some action. I don't know. This story in general, being part 4 of this huge series, it was, like I said, whoa. It was a slog. It really was. Okay, so kind of on the other end of the spectrum, a book that I maybe didn't expect not to like so much, but really ended up loving it. Now, of course, I read books expecting to like them, and that's kind of the point of things. Now, sometimes like maybe a book club book comes along or something where I read it even though it was not necessarily was high on my list to read, that kind of things, but I'm going to use this book, and only because I was apprehensive about reading it, even though I really wanted to, and that's Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. I had heard that this book was kind of hard and dense and complex. It's a fantasy, that it was really kind of violent, and like a lot of people really didn't like the book or really struggled through it, but like I was like so intrigued by it because it was like this African inspired story, and I wanted to give it a shot at least, but I was nervous, but I buddy read it with Brad over at Brad Proctor, and boy, we both flippin' loved it. It is so good. It's a fantasy book. Like I said, African inspired, has a wonderful main character who's like very morally gray. You never know if he's telling the truth, and I love the characters and the setting, and I ended up just absolutely loving that book. So I'm gonna say that one. Okay, Alex, I read The Buccubus. If I found $100 bill on the floor, no one's around, finders keepers, right? Absolutely. Decided to treat myself to some books. What books would I buy right now? So right now I would buy Don't Fear the Reaper, Stephen Graham Jones. That's book 2 of that series because I loved My Heart is a Chainsaw. I need Eric LaRocque as a new book because I'm just, buying all of his books. What else is out there that I want? I don't think it's out yet, so I'd pre-order Haley Piper's a new book, which I don't think is out yet. I would buy that one. And then I would just go to my local used bookstore, or no, my local Dollar Warehouse book place, and just spend the rest seeing what I could find. Next time I go there, I'm going to take you guys with me because holy cow. But I got to get through my 100 book challenge first, where I read 100 books that I own before I can buy new books. All right, Reading This Life, MJAA. What is a book that is an automatic recommendation that I recommend over and over and over again? That's Betty. Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. I love that book. It is hard-hitting. It is heartfelt. It is emotional. It will make you cry. It will make you bawl. But it is so beautifully written. It is a coming-of-age story based on the author's family. Betty is actually the author's mom, and talks about her upbringing, dealing with sort of racism because she is a half Cherokee and half white person growing up, and the abject poverty of living in, Appalachian area of Ohio, mental illness, familial trauma, generational trauma, abuse. It's a sad one. It is a sad one, but it is so worth it because it is, it is a true, a lot of it is, like I said, based in truth, even though she has fictionalized some things. It is an eye on, these people are real, and there are people that really live these types of lives and have these hardships and come out the other side of it. You survive or you don't sometimes, and this book is a real testament to that, I think. And again, the writing is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I also continually to recommend the new and improved Rummy Futch, and no one ever reads it, but I love that book. All right, Dave and Olive over at Book Leather, yay! 3 all-time favorite books. Dave, okay, fine. Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood. Not Survivor, good lord, what did I say that for? Invisible Monsters, Chuck Palahniuk. I flop and love that book. Oh, the third one, I don't know. What's going to eke into the third one? Oh, maybe Betty by Tiffany McDaniel, honestly. I love that book. I mentioned Exquisite Corpse, I love that one too. American Gods, Neil Gaiman. Okay, that's more than 3. Okay. So Amy Noel, yay! 2 in case you put of your favorite books of all time. So let's do a top 5. So like I said, Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood. American Gods, Neil Gaiman. Invisible Monsters, Chuck Palahniuk. Exquisite Corpse really catapulted up to one of my top favorites. Betty, Tiffany McDaniel. Yeah, top 5. Okay. Okay, Storm reads, what got you into reading horror, and do I watch horror as well? So like a lot of people who kind of start dipping their toe into horror, I read a Stephen King book when I was probably way too young to read a Stephen King book. So maybe I was like 12-ish or so. I read Misery by Stephen King, and again, basically just kind of never looked back. I was older, so I never really got into like Goosebumps and stuff because I was kind of way past that stage of the 90s. So I don't really know why I wanted to read Misery. What got me wanting to delve into horror, because I wasn't really reading a lot of like middle grade horror or anything by that time, because like I said, I was still reading like Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary. I don't know. I just was called to the dark side, I guess. Do you watch horror? I do. I really do enjoy horror movies. Horror? Okay, I can read horror books like all day, every day. And it's hard for me to actually get scared. Horror movies, on the other hand, do actually really, really scare me more often than not, especially like Haunted House or like Ghost Story. Something like Lingering, Just Unseen, or yeah, I'm gonna get scared and have nightmares, but I do love to watch horror. I love that feeling of the anticipation and really, of course, the exploration of the darker side of humanity. That's why I love horror in general. So Katrina Brown, what is my favorite food? Girl, pizza. Duh, pizza all day, every day. Pizza. I don't care what's on it, for the most part. And give it to me, pizza. Second silent tacos. All right. All right, Pax. Over at Pax Panic. Hi, Pax. Have I always been a reader? Yes and no. So I was very much one of those kids who had her nose stuck in a book. As the aforementioned Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary, and a bunch of other books. But yeah, those two women for sure are integral of my reading history. And then as sort of a preteen into teen, I started getting into more grown-up books, reading Stephen King and Anne Rice, and yeah, into my early 20s is when I kind of discovered Chuck Palahniuk and all the kind of different authors like that. And I went through a span of years, though, kind of, I'll say most of my 30s. I really didn't read very much at all. I was really doing a lot of like stitchy work back then and stuff like that. And then my son was born and life changed, and I would read maybe like a couple books a year kind of thing. I really wasn't reading very much until 2019 rolled around, and I've mentioned this before, and I made I just sort of basically a New Year's resolution, just read more, like just read more. I didn't really have a goal in mind, just read more, and so I did, and so since 2019 I've definitely been more of a reader, of course, and then of course started the channel, connected with people on BookTube and all that kind of good stuff. So I've definitely gone kind of up and down through my life. I have not consistently been a reader through my life, but yeah, definitely have a history with reading as a kid and a teenager, and then of course here more recently in my grown-up life. So yeah. So I think I've got everything. I seriously thank you guys so much for the awesome questions, and again, thanks so much for 1,500 subscribers. I can't believe it. So, yeah, but I don't know. I'm speechless. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and maybe we'll do it again sometime. And thanks again, for all of your support. I really appreciate the folks that I have connected with here on BookTube, either other people that make videos, folks in the comments. It's just it has been such a wonderful experience. It has enriched my life so much. I mean, it really has. It's become such an important part of my day-to-day life. And not just the books, but the people that read them with me. And get teary-eyed. So, big love, big kisses to you all. And thanks for watching, because I appreciate your time. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.